I saw this break, and much like with my original essay on the tragedy of Spider-Man Lotus, I was gonna give it some time to marinate, especially if certain facts come to light that will then shed some more information on the issue. And I kind of did that somewhat. I let it breathe a little bit more, at least another extra 24 hours. But unlike the Spider-Man Lotus, which was for the most part remained objective, this one actually breeds a little bit more of a subjective, opinionated take from me that I feel like I need to put into video form that was not going to cut it for a simple community post or tweet. And that's why I really wanted to put together this video, because this is where things can get a little bit, like I said, objectively out of hand. And I want to emphasize the phrase can be. I'm not saying that they are, but they can be. I won't be going over every single thing since there is technically a separate video essay centering all around the controversy of Spider-Man Lotus, but just to quickly recap, in the summer of 2021, a fan film by Gavin J. Conop titled Spider-Man Lotus was set to come out sometime in either late 2021 or early 2022 and was going to be centering around Spider-Man Blue and the kid who collects Spider-Man comic arcs. And it was going to also be crowdfunded by an Indiegogo campaign which was able to amount to $112,000. And everything looked optimistically going according to plan. The costume was set, the production was well into schedule, filming was done, the effects were looking good, the trailers were even going viral, painting a very optimistic look on what a Spider-Man fan film could be. Up until June of 2022, when controversial tweets and Instagram direct messages from both the director, Gavin J. Conop, and the star, Warden Wayne, who was playing Peter Parker, surfaced on Twitter, with them utilizing xenophobic comments and racial slurs. The controversy painted a dark cloud over the production of Spider-Man Lotus, prompting Warden Wayne and Gavin J. Conop to pretty much go silent on social media until the completion of the film, leading many to question whether or not the film was going to come out, or if it even should come out. And almost indefinitely, it looked like Conop and company were just completely quiet all across social media. One can only assume that they were working on the film. Until recently, we had a bit of an ominous development. On July 26th, eagle-eyed Twitter users noticed that Gavin J. Conop deactivated his Twitter account. Now, just to be a little specific here, he deactivated, didn't necessarily deleted it. When you deactivate a Twitter account, the handle is still available to be viewed on the website, but the entire feed and everything that came out of it is pretty much privatized, and you cannot see it. Nobody from the public can actually see anything from the account. At the time of this recording, when clicking on his handle, it takes it directly to a page that lists his handle, and right below it, it says, "This account does not exist." Subsequently thereafter, a lot of people on Instagram also noticed that Gavin J. Conop deactivated commenting on his Instagram account. Henceforth, he still has an Instagram account and his posts are still available for the public to view, but nobody can post any subsequent comments on anything from either the past or going forward in the future. Naturally, this prompted several users on Twitter and on Instagram to question whether or not the film was going to be released, since this inherently looked very bad for the production of Spider-Man Lotus. The very creator of the film, the writer and director Gavin J. Conop, seemingly has gone dark. That therein lies why this little issue kind of brought a little bit of a emotional response from me versus the likes of Spider-Man Lotus, because we're now in a climate where things come to light for anything from a fan film to an actual Hollywood blockbuster that has problematic stars, and so some kind of thing from their past comes about, and then Twitter tears it apart about whether or not they should be forgiven, and everyone's gonna have a take. But once we get into an issue that actually becomes legally troublesome, that's where things need to be taken into account. And also, like Conop and a lot of the people behind Spider-Man Lotus, whether they took part in the controversy or didn't, kept mentioning accountability. And it doesn't become about any more accountable than taking people's money and potentially running with it. That's called stealing. And that's exactly why him deactivating his Twitter and deactivating comments on Instagram looks bad as from an optics standpoint, because, dude, you created an Indiegogo campaign that raised $112,000 of other people's money to make your fan film. Regardless of what the outcome really is, going dark, as Soap from the Call of Duty franchise does or says, going dark like that doesn't really bode well, regardless of what the reasoning was, when you take into consideration that somewhere out there, people's money is rather literally at stake. The controversy behind the xenophobic, homophobic, and racist comments is pretty much kind of shoved to the side. I'm not saying to make light of that issue, because it's a bit of a serious issue to talk about, but this is one where it's, like I said, very black and white. It's like you don't take people's money, and a lot of us were wondering, did this guy really just dip with the money? He took the money and ran, like that song goes? But before we can let a full 24-hour window actually go by before we can make those presumptions, Conup actually took to his YouTube community tab to make this post. On July 27th, Gavin J. Conup actually took to his YouTube community tab to post an update on Spider-Man Lotus. Quote, "Spider-Man Lotus is still releasing here on YouTube. I have been working hard on it. Stay tuned," along with a screen grab of Spider-Man seemingly confronting some sort of bad guy in front of the camera. That same day, Twitter user Luke Flux posted an update of his own saying, "Gavin just responded to me," quote, along with a screen grab of his exchange with Conup. Flux seemingly seems to directly message Conup with a statement saying, "Hey, you've deleted your Twitter account and we haven't gotten any updates on the project since you stepped away from social media. As someone who has contributed to this project, this radio silence and deletion of your Twitter profile isn't filling me with confidence. I'd like to know if this project is still happening." Conup responded saying, "The project is still happening and there will be updates on my YouTube channel when I have them." He then added, quote, "I'm working on something that will address everything in full since I'm of the belief that my Twitter statement was not at all sufficient. There were several things that I failed to address since I wrote all of it in a panic. So I have taken time to make sure I'm in a healthy place before going back out there to talk about it again. Thank you for your support and I apologize for the silence. Hopefully this video will make up for it." It should also be noted that Matt, aka Berkman Boom, the original leaker of the controversial messages by Conup, has seemingly deactivated his Twitter account as well. What exactly does this mean is still up for question. So some folks frolicked over to Twitter to kind of spread screen grabs of this YouTube community post, assuming that they didn't have a YouTube channel or they never managed to see it. And that makes sense to kind of bring some more clarification, and it actually lines up with one of Conup's now deleted tweets since he's deactivated his account, in which he said that further communication of any kind of updates regarding the film were going to take place on that community tab over on his YouTube channel. Cool. But it still begs the question, why deactivate your Twitter in the first place? I mean, I understand that you probably got a shit ton of response messages and at replies and direct messages over in your mailbox that are probably on the more colorful side, commenting on what exactly has transpired in the past month. But was it really too much to bear that you finally did that? And why also deactivate the comments on your Instagram? Again, you could make the argument that maybe he was trying to silence a little bit of the noise so that he can really focus on editing said project. But it's something about that community post that also rubs me a little bit of the wrong way, and that's again where I have to bring a little bit more of my subjective sensibilities, not only as a spectator amongst this whole ordeal, but also as a filmmaker myself, of how things would be treated if I was at the center of it all. You see, I want to go back to the statement that he posted on his YouTube community tab, because there's a little detail about it that rubs me the wrong way. It's the part where he says, "Spider-Man Lotus is still releasing here on YouTube. I have been working hard on it." That's the thing, is that if there was one thing that this controversy has shed some light on, is people wondering whether or not they should support it, not necessarily because of the transgressions of two people involved, but also the fact that so many other people worked very hard on this project. So with a statement like, "I have been working hard on it," it kind of undermines what other people have been putting forth in the creation of this project, especially the visual effects artists, the costumers, the casting, the cinematography, all the elements that make a film, let alone a fan film. It feels a little put down by a phrase like, "I have been working hard on it." It doesn't do anything well for the optics, especially when the optics themselves already look so bad after the Twitter account and the Instagram account comments from a person in question have been privatized. I'm for one somewhat happy that this situation developed as at least as far as a post-mortem kind of event with him deactivating his Twitter account, because it also kind of reminded me that, like I mentioned before, people's money really is at stake with that Indiegogo campaign, a whole whopping $112,000 for it. That's not easy pickings. It really isn't. That's not a small amount of change, and as such, it should be treated equally with the heavy amount of just magnitude. And because of that, I feel like we can all objectively say that the movie does in fact need to come out, because there's an awful lot at stake, not only people's money, but also other people's reputation that don't involve the controversy. Like we mentioned in the Spider-Man Lotus essay, other people worked on this movie as well, and it also ponders whether or not their work should be just scrubbed off because of two people's past transgressions. Whether or not you want to support the film by actually watching it for free on YouTube or through other means, that's entirely up to you. That's completely subjective. But again, there's legalities tied in when there's some kind of monetary transaction involved, and that's pretty much what the Indiegogo campaign presented. And this situation, thankfully, was able to enlighten me with that. That is very black and white. It's like the movie needs to come out because that's part of the promise that was made by Conup and the rest of the people who spearheaded that Indiegogo campaign, and there's no ifs or buts about that. I, for one, want to check out the film only because it is Spider-Man related. There's other people's hard work involved, and I kind of want to provide some content revolving around the Spider-Man Lotus as a video or movie as well, whether it be in the form of a review or a live reaction. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you think this was a good move on Conup's part to deactivate his Twitter account? Do you think it's bad for optics? Are you still anticipating the release of the film? Like I said, I think objectively it needs to come out, but what quality or state the film is really going to be when it kind of finally walks out of those pearly gates is yet to be seen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thumbs up the video if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't, and of course if you guys want to check out more videos Spider-Man and Batman related, or if there's any further developments that I can comment on regarding Spider-Man Lotus, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn on notifications. And as always, stay humble guys. I'll see you later.